Good morning, and welcome to Arundel Presbyterian Church in Odenton, Maryland. I'm Brian Boudreau, the clerk of session here at Arundel, and your host in the lobby, the weekly program of the life and ministry of the church. So today is the 13th Sunday after Pentecost. I have a special guest, well, especially to me, in our continuing series, Meet Arundel. And now let's take a quick look at the announcements. The Christian Ed and Worship Ministries would like everyone to know that two people who later tested positive for COVID were in Sunday school and worship last week. So details of this can be found in Friday's edition of the archive. Everyone who was exposed was notified of their possible exposure on Tuesday, and we sent additional notifications out to all attendees on Wednesday out of an abundance of caution. Now, Arundel has been cautious about all aspects of COVID infection, and we will continue throughout the fall as the Delta variant runs its course. We will keep safety measures in place as directed by medical professionals, and we expect even more changes and unexpected outcomes along the way. So one update along these lines is the current worship schedule will continue through the end of September. So live stream every Sunday at 10:30. And 10:30 in the sanctuary in person for up to 77 people. And that is by reservation. And as you can see, we need to have your name on a reservation in case something like this comes up. We will be wearing masks for the duration. And all outdoor worship every other week, no reservations, masks optional, but all are welcome. And we will still have the mask policy for children as they are not yet vaccinated. So next outdoor worship dates are September 5th and 19th. Session is actively discussing plans for Christian Ed and worship in the longer term. Watch out for new updates as things come along. So please be in touch with the pastors, the elders, or the deacons if you have any concerns about this, or if you have input that you could provide. The next summer Sunday school will be on August 29th. This is an in-person outdoor event for rising kindergartners through 8th graders. And as you know, masks will be required. And the adult summer Sunday school will continue. It will take place at the same time. So parents, you can drop your kids off at Sunday school and everyone else, and meet everybody else at the circle in the back of the parking lot. We are busting myths of the Bible with Pastor John. There's no RSVP necessary. There's no homework either. So it's a pretty easy thing to get set up for. Now, the Friendly Seniors Afternoon Tea Zoom meeting will continue indefinitely on the second Tuesday of every month at 3 p.m. Joan tells us if once again we go into more isolation, the group will begin meeting more often via Zoom. So let Joan Berry know if you want to meet more frequently. The parent group will meet in person outside on church grounds at 6:30 p.m. on Friday, August 27th for an ice cream social. So all parents and caregivers of newborns through college-age children are welcome. If you're looking for others to share childcare tips and tales of wisdom, and all are welcome. So childcare will be provided for a small fee, of course, while the adults chat. It will be canceled if there is rain with no rain date. Please email outreach@arkandove.org to RSVP. Arundel is putting together a group to participate in the Annapolis Run for the Lighthouse on Sunday, September 19th. You can do it also virtually anytime between September 11th and the 19th. So there are options for a 1.25 mile walk, a 5K, and a half marathon race. So if you sign up, let Nicole Howe know at fellowship@arkandove.org, and she'll set up a meeting place for all of us Arkandelers to get together. And here are some great activities for the mission ministry. Links to the online sign up for the back to school program are on the Arundel homepage and the mission ministry page and Facebook. So we are providing school supplies to 35 elementary students in Odenton, and we still have room for you to sign up to support several of them. We are also providing support and supplies to Mead Middle School. The online sign up includes instructions for the elementary and middle school options. You can also sign up in person after worship by contacting or finding Greg Makar. He's usually at the back of the sanctuary, and you can get more information from him. You can support this month the Christian Assistance Program CAP, West County Food Pantry in Severn by donating cereal, tomato products, and rice sides. So donations can be left at the church on the table just inside the door, or if the door is locked, on the picnic tables under the canopy. You can support Habitat for Humanity through the special offering in July and August You can simply text dollar amount followed by Habitat to 410-983-3481. And finally, the Arundel Literacy Council is collecting gently used books for a book fair in late October. I have right next to me a box for collecting those books right here in the church lobby. But if you can't make it to the church, you can contact Wendy Wellington and she will make arrangements for another pickup. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention our regular activities as usual, which I should have memorized. The Bible lectionary every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Contact Pastor John for the Zoom invitation. Sunday fellowship is right after the service at 11:45. You can email fellowship@arkandove.org anytime during the service, and you will get the Zoom link for that. The crafting group meets on the first Wednesday and third Monday evening of each month at 7 p.m. Amy Tardif has a Zoom invitation for you there. And Saturday night, game night with the deacons. You can get a Zoom invite from Ellen and Greg Makar. Now, this week's Meet Ark and Dove guest took a little cajoling, but I finally convinced her, and I may be a little biased, but she's doing something very interesting this year. Please welcome Abby Boudreau. Welcome, Abby.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. So just for transparency, Abby is my wife, and so I'm so glad you could join us here in the lobby. Now, I know we talked about maybe you could, come in here, but the topic that we're going to talk about is about your hobby in reading. And so, of course, we've got this beautiful bookshelf of books back there. I'm sure you've read a lot of them. And so let's talk about that just a little bit. What are you doing this year?
So this year I am reading 100 books.
100 books. Okay, so how does that work? 100 books. Why is that significant?
So I always have read a lot. I love to read. I'm one of those kids who would fall asleep with a book. But the last year or so with the pandemic, I felt like I was definitely watching a lot more television. And also, I think all of us as adults, like Facebook and Instagram have kind of crept more into our lives. And I'm trying to cut back on all those things. And so this was a way to kind of get back to something that I really love to do.
Oh, that's great. So 100 books, that ends up being what, something around 8 books a month, roughly?
Yes.
Okay.
About 2 a week.
That's 2 books a week, and that's a lot. So can you describe what kind of books you're reading?
I'm pretty much reading anything. I'm involved in 2 different book clubs. So that gives me, some stuff to choose from already. Just one is a regular, like a book club with some friends, and then one is a young adult book club with some friends who all have teenagers, because we want to read what they're reading and be able to give them ideas of what they'd like to read.
Okay, so 2 book clubs. That's still a lot of books that you're reading. How are you able to read 2 books a week?
So a friend that has done this told me that a really good way to kind of get through it was to get involved in a series. So I was looking, because I really like, crime or thriller type books. So I found the Sue Grafton series, which is sometimes they call the alphabet series. Like A is for alibi, B is for burglar. So I started reading those, and that really helped kind of get through points when I wasn't sure what I wanted to read next. And it really gets you involved with one character, which is great because it just makes it fast and you want to keep reading about them.
All right, so how many books are in that series?
There's 25. She unfortunately passed away right before she wrote Z. So I read 25, but there's also a 26 where she wrote a collection of short stories from the viewpoint of the main character, because she wanted to kind of flesh out the character. And so I read that book as well.
Now that's a quarter of the books that you need to read, so you're able to get through those. How else do you choose the books that you're looking for? What do you have a specific genre that you go for?
Pretty much, if I have my choice. I mean, obviously I read what comes up with our book clubs or things that I hear about. I also work at the library at the headquarters, so we get books that are just put out that are extras, or some of the publishers have sent us advanced copies, so I'll read some of those. But it's really, I'm always looking for kind of thriller kind of books.
Now, are you going back and rereading some of the classics?
No, I kind of made a rule this year that I wasn't going to do that. There are certain books that, as you know, I love to read, like To Kill a Mockingbird or The Great Gatsby. Those are definitely things I'm not going to read again this year because I feel like if I'm going to do this, I should read 100 new books.
Can you tell me what has been your favorite book so far this year?
Okay, so my favorite book is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. That's definitely been my favorite.
Okay. Is there a book that you're looking forward to reading that's on your list?
Not particularly, because this process has made me realize there's so many good books out there and ones that you wouldn't even expect are good. So
Do you pick up a book and you're reading and you're like, oh, I'm just not into it, or this really isn't a good book? Does that happen to you? And what do you do when that happens?
I kind of try to push through because I think there's so many good books out there that take a while to get going. For people that read years ago, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, that was a famous book for being really slow to get going. There has been one book this year that I just started reading it and I was like, I just knew I wasn't going to like it. So I put it down and I didn't count it, obviously.
Yeah. Is it okay to walk away from a book that you don't like?
Yes, absolutely.
It's not a sign of defeat.
No, not at all.
I think that's my problem is I will like have a book on my nightstand for 2 years. I'm just not into it. I just can't get through it. But
Yeah,
I'm way too stubborn to put it down as if it's a sign of defeat.
always put books down that you're not interested in.
Excellent.
Life's too short.
So do you have any advice for young readers or somebody who is not really a voracious reader like you are?
Find a genre that you're interested in. That would be my first advice because I think once you know what you're into, or maybe two or three types of books, then you have a better idea of what you're going to like. And then my other advice, obviously, as someone that works at the library, would be to go to your library and ask the librarians. They are super helpful and they are just amazing. They'll be able to tell you what to read next, help steer you towards something. They're, just a wealth of knowledge.
Okay, so you mentioned genres, but what about the format? Does that make a difference?
For me personally, I like to read a hard copy of a book. That's just my preference. You know, at work, I just put a book on hold and it comes right to my desk. So that makes it really easy. But if I do want to get a book via e-reader, I'll do that as well. But there's so many great ways to find books that you want to read. Even, as our kids read a lot of graphic novels, and I think that's great too.
I want to get into the mechanics of how you are able to read so quickly. So are you a speed reader?
No, I'm not. Not trained anyway. People that watch me read say I'm fast, but and I do read quickly. I've always read quickly because it's something I love to do. I think sometimes when you really enjoy something, you just get into it. So the other way I make sure that I can read 100 books this year is that I take books with me everywhere. I pretty much am never without a book. So I go to work with one. For lunch breaks, I take one just when I leave the house, because if I'm stopping to pick up kids somewhere and they're 10 minutes late coming out, then I have a book.
I read Stephen King's On Writing, and he talked about his career as a writer. And he said in that book that when he would go to Red Sox games, and he would take with him a couple of books that he was working on and the manuscript that he was working on while he was at the baseball game, because the ideas would still come to him even when you're just having fun.
Yeah, no, it's true. And that's one of the great things about when you read a lot, you actually become a better writer. Not that I'm going to be, Stephen King, but just writing stuff for work. It's amazing how much when you read more, you're a much better writer.
Are there genres that you don't read?
I generally don't like romance novels, partially because nothing can ever be as good as Pride and Prejudice and those kind of books.
How do you find titles, what you're going to read next? And do you keep a list of what you're going to read?
I'm on Goodreads, which is an app that you can use to kind of keep track of books that you're excited about. So I always put books on that. And then a really good way to actually find books is to go to a website that sells books, and you just put in a title that you liked. And then at the bottom, they'll have books that they would recommend or that others have bought. I just ask people, but I think most of us, if we're being honest, have a ton of books that we've been wanting to read, and we just haven't made the time for it.
So I have to make a plug here. Then Ark and Dove has several book clubs, book groups. I won't call them clubs, so book groups. And we had one over the summer. Chose some great books. And you've done some of these book groups and books before, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And they were just a great experience. And I loved being able to spend time with people at church and read books that were very topical to things that, we're talking about in church, or things that we're studying or learning about.
So I would encourage everybody when a book group comes up to sign up for that and be a part of it, because it's very insightful and it really brings together the community. You meet people you don't already know at the church, so it's a wonderful, and in a small group setting.
Yeah, it was really great. It was a great experience.
So Abby, thank you so much for coming on to the program and sharing with us what I see all the time is your love for reading. And I hope that this will encourage other people to just, try and read more, dive into it. And there's so many great things that you can explore and discover through reading. So thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you out there for joining us today. I'm so glad you could be with us. Everything we talked about is on the webpage or in the archive. So stay safe. Get a vaccine if you can get a vaccine, and join us in the Zoom fellowship after the service. The live stream service will begin in a moment.